closer to our friends in this, and you don't need to look that far to see. In an instant, it's all rushing by.
Hello, everyone. This is Pendy.
Why, hello there, little Pendy. I hope you're doing well today.
Little Pendy? What are you going on about? I'm just Pendy.
Not anymore, you're not. You're part of the East X Commandos. You're number 12 among the commandos who follow me. All my commandos have nicknames.
But Pendy is already And who are the other 11? Okay, I'll play along, but can I at least have a better nickname than Little Pendy?
Sure, how about Penster or Penny?
Never mind. Little Pendy it is. Let's just start the show now.
Hold on a minute. As one of my East X Commandos, you need to ask your captain for permission to start the show.
Fine. Captain East X, can I have permission to start the show?
That's much better. Welcome everyone to Alltrades DQ Media Abbey, a Slime Time podcast spinoff where we review various Dragon Quest media, including manga and anime.
We are currently reviewing the 2020 Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai anime, and the Dragon Quest X tie-in manga, Rooming with a Gamer Gal. We'll start with Dai first, so let's strash it up.
Let's look at episode 84, Rise, Night of Destiny. In this episode, Dai is about to attack the tentacle monster that has captured Leona, but he gets stopped by Goroa the Drumbler, a monster with a drum for a belly. His job is to manage the tentacled thing that has taken Leona. The creature is called the Dark Force Reactor, and it uses Dark King Vern's magic to power the palace. Leona's Kaglimmer spell severed the reactor from Vern's magic. The creature was then attracted to Leona because of her magical power and the magic feathers that Yvonne gave her. Goroa's drumming has kept the creature from absorbing Leona so far, but he can only do so much. Dai tries to attack the reactor, but it has a magical barrier preventing him from getting through. As Dai attacks the reactor, Goroa attacks Dai with his super gravity attack power, weighing him down. With Goroa's super gravity power focused on Dai, the Dark Force Reactor envelops Leona completely and begins draining her magical power. Goroa picks up Dai's sword and prepares to stab Dai. That's not good. The young hero is then whisked away to meet his father Baran, who grants him his power. This gives Dai Dragon Crest on both of his hands instead of just one. Dai uses his newfound power to use a double crest beam attack on the Dark Force Reactor, breaking the barrier. After knocking Goroa away, he rescues Leona. Dai and Leona figure out that Gomichan used his magical power to protect Leona while she was captured, causing Gomichan to shrink and pass out. While they're distracted, Goroa combines with the Dark Force Reactor to attack Dai, but King Vern tells him to stand down. Goroa ignores the order and attacks anyway. Dai unleashes his father's signature attack, Doruora, which destroys the Dark Force Reactor and even seems to hit Dark King Vern's throne on the top floor of the Tower of Supremacy.
This is not my favorite episode. Goroa is kind of a chump, and I would have preferred if Dai had learned to use the full force of his and his father's crest while fighting Vern instead of this detour with the Dark Force Reactor. If you know what happens in later episodes, the reactor getting blown away has little consequence, so it barely has any effect on the plot. Dai growing in power is important, of course, but it could have been handled differently. I do appreciate that it at least shows more of Gomichan's power and hints more at Dai learning what Gomichan is really all about, at least. And it does create some funny character moments between Leona and Dai after all is said and done. Like with Maximus, I just think Goroa is not a very fun villain to watch. Goroa does remind me, though, of a Bongo Drongo from Dragon Quest XI, who actually originated in Dragon Quest Monsters 2, though in the Dragon Quest series, the drum is a separate creature instead of being its belly.
Well, as with the previous episode that had Maximus, I like Goroa more than you. He's got a fun, unique appearance, and his Japanese voice actor, Yasuhiro Takato, is quite distinctive too. He was the voice of Artemis in the original Sailor Moon show and movies, so that gives me some sympathy for him. Yeah, at first I felt sorry for Goroa since he's like a harrowed worker who's afraid of getting in trouble from his boss, kind of a feeling many of us could sympathize with. However, he is more of a jerk overall, so his defeat is deserved. While I enjoyed this episode pretty well, I have to agree that it's more padding than anything else. Dai certainly could have unlocked his second crest while confronting Vern instead of Goroa, like you suggested. Of course, when you have a series built around boss fights, the things that come between the boss fights end up feeling like distractions. Oh, and poor Gomichan getting drained and shrunken like that's better than Leona being eaten by the reactor, though, I suppose. She takes off Gomichan's Beast King Commandos badge, by the way. Nobody better tell Chu. He might not be happy about it.
Uh-oh. Next is episode 85, Vern, the Dark King. We open with Mam, Pop, and Larhart coordinating their attacks against Miss Vern. The fight is interrupted by Dai's Doruora spell happening many floors above. Back on the ground below, below the palace, Queen Flora realizes that the palace has been rendered inoperable, but now slowly floats even higher in the sky without its power source. In the palace, Dai uses Levizoom to transport himself and Leona through the hole his Doru Aura spell made to the upper floors of the Tower of Supremacy. Mam, Pop, and Larhart resume their attack against Miss Fern, but notice that their foe recovers from any damage that he takes. The heroes aren't accomplishing anything other than damaging their own weapons and draining their stamina. Up above, Dai and Leona are able to get to the top level where they confront Dark King Vern. Dai uses the power of his 2 crests to not only keep up with Vern, but damage him as well. Vern unleashes a Calamitous wall attack, but Dai manages to withstand it by using his Draconic Aura defense. Meanwhile, Pop attacks Miss Vern in order to give Larhart an opening, but Miss Vern's extending fingers nearly stab him. Thankfully, Heem arrives with the other reinforcements and blocks Miss Vern's attack.
It's nice for Dai that the second crest helps him feel more connected with his deceased father. Technically, Bron's soul is inside him or something, so of course they really are connected. We briefly see that Goroa wasn't killed in the last episode, he was just turned back into a regular drumbler. Surprisingly, drumbler, or Drumoon as it's said in Japanese, doesn't seem to be a genuine Dragon Quest monster race. The only drum-themed monsters I could find are the Drum Ghost family from Dragon Quest XI, which you referred to, and they don't resemble Goroa much at all. So, too bad. That should be a real monster, that's what I'm saying. Put him in a game. Focusing on the Vern fight, Dai's indecision at the beginning is pretty silly. At least it doesn't last very long thanks to Leona. She's lucky that Vern doesn't attack her though. Her death would seriously demoralize Dai. I guess Vern doesn't try to hurt Leona because he's too busy thinking about Dai's combat abilities. He does that a lot in this episode. As for the Miss Vern fight, I'm getting tired of his smugness. Heem's arrival helps, thankfully. Heem gets the classic heroic entrance as he protects Pop, and then Pop chides Hyuncle for worrying him. Mom is hanging all over Hyuncle, whom she still seems to favor over Pop, by the way.
I did notice that as well. So this was a fun episode, and it's fun to see Dark King Vern, hey Vern, reel back from Dai's increased power. I like that Leona's encouragement and advice is what helped Dai snap himself out of his indecisiveness as well. Dai's snarky remark on how she gave him that advice was hilarious and how Leona reacted to it. I also really loved Mam's spinning kick that must have been inspired by Street Fighter's Chun-Li's spinning bird kick. Also, when Heem delivers the line, "What is it that you really do around here?" I was immediately transported to the 2 Bobs from Office Space. What would you say you do here? Hopefully no one takes Miss Fern's stapler in the next episode, or they're all doomed. I was told I could listen to my music at a reasonable volume. A fun episode overall.
Indeed. Then we have episode 86, Kill Vern's Trap. As the episode begins, we see that Leona avoided the Calamitous wall attack by hanging over the side of the tower with the Knife of Pamnika. After she climbs back up, Dark King Vern tells Dai that he recognizes Dai's incredible power. He asks Dai to serve him like his father did before. Vern claims that the humans will never accept Dai once the fighting is all over. Dai refuses the offer, thankfully, telling Vern that he cares about the human race, and if they reject him, he'll just leave. In the rubble nearby, we see that Kilvern's little buddy, Hiroro the Jinkster, is observing the fight and sending the images back to Kilvern. As Kilvern and Yvonne continue their duel to the death, Yvonne thinks he's about to win, but Kilvern reveals that he has deployed the Phantom Razor, 13 invisible blades that came from his headgear. The tables then turn for Yvonne as he starts to get sliced up by the blades. Yvonne decides to end the fight with a Megante attack, but the judge intervenes. Remember that guy? Kilvern programmed the judge to stop Yvonne from using Megante by grabbing him and self-destructing. Kilvern escapes the dueling field, but before he does, Yvonne grabs his leg. Kilvern still escapes through the portal, and it cuts off Yvonne's hand in the process. Ouch. Back in the White Garden, Mistvern is challenged by Heem, whose growing light aura is a weakness for him. Heem starts to blast Mistvern and easily stomps out Mistvern's dark aura decimation field. That was good to see. The episode ends with Dai confidently blasting King Vern into a wall. Let's hope he maintains the advantage.
This episode dives a little too much into the exposition realm in the beginning, but it's fun to watch all 3 battles taking place. Each one of them has something significant that happens. King Vern makes a compelling case for Dai to join him, but we know that Dai has too big of a heart to back down now. Poor Yvonne got a little too overconfident with himself, and it will be interesting to see what his fate is from the fight. Did the judge take him out? We'll see soon. The best part of the episode, however, is seeing Heem knock Mistvern around and taking him down a peg or two. So much for that smugness. But even more enjoyable is Chu and Heem bickering with each other about who is in control and what Chu gets to call Heem. Heem ends up going along with Chu's Little Heem nickname, albeit begrudgingly so, which is part of the fun.
The interaction between him and Chu is indeed delightful. The nickname Little Him is actually Him-chan in Japanese, C-H-A-N. This is funny because chan is more typically used for girls than boys, though the anime Crayon Shin-chan is an example of it being used with a boy's name. The chan honorific definitely implies that Him is a cute little kid. The alternate nicknames that Chu tries out in English are Himi and Himster. In Japanese, they're Hitan and Himsuke. Anyway, I agree that him beating on Miss Vern is quite satisfying. The problem with the show jumping back and forth between the 3 fights for so many episodes is that the fights, especially this one, start to feel like they're dragging on. I hope Miss Vern falls soon. I was sad to see Yvonne losing to Kilvern, and especially that the judge turned on Yvonne as well. Cheating is par for the course with Kilvern, especially since he monologues about how much better it is to use traps than to fight fair in this episode. Still, Yvonne deserves better than to lose the fight and get his hand cut off. Poor Yvonne. The lack of blood from the severed hand is a shame, but that's the modern Dai show for you.
Next, we'll get into rooming with a gamer gal. First up is Server 11, our first offline meetup, part 1. In this chapter, we're introduced to the concept of character descriptions. It's an optional field where you can describe yourself to other people who want to see what you might be about. Miyako lets Satsuki know that the character Chabudai has a description that is pretty intense. It turns out Chabudai has a crush on Satsuki's character Powder, according to the description at least. Chabudai lives in the Kansai region, but she is visiting the Kanto region to visit her brother. Kanto is where Miyako and Satsuki live. The Heaven Slime Kanto crew has set up an offline meetup and invited both Chabu and Satsuki. Satsuki was too shy to go to offline meetups before, but he finds the courage to go to this latest one. Miyako already has plans with a friend, so she passes on the meetup. While Miyako meets her friends for drinks, Satsuki makes his way to the offline Heaven Slime meetup.
It's hilarious when Satsuki reads Chabudai's description. It says, I want to work hard and become strong so I can be a suitable man for Powder. Powder is Satsuki's main character, of course, often called Pouchan. Satsuki's reaction is one of glee, as he is greatly impressed by Chabudai's cuteness. Miyako points out that Chabudai's other character also has a crush on Powder, so it will be very interesting to see whether that crush carries over into real life. A lot of this chapter has Satsuki wondering about what the meetup and other members will be like, which is a common feeling when you're meeting online friends. Before Satsuki learns about the latest meetup, he mentions that Chabu and Mario is part of the Kansai crew, and he doesn't expect to ever meet that portion of the guild members. He also says that his portion of Heaven Slime is from Kanto, and those members have met before, even though he didn't go. So I thought it'd be interesting to understand the geography of the situation. And it turns out that Kansai is a south-central region of Honshu, Japan's main island. Then the Kanto region is the central region of Honshu, so somewhat northeast of Kansai, and it includes Tokyo in Kanto. And that the distance between those two places is 600 kilometers, which is about 375 miles apart, and that would take about 7.5 hours by car to go there. So yeah, I mean, often we don't naturally expect to meet people who live 7 hours away, unless you're going out of your way to do so. That was cool. At the end of the chapter, we see that Miyako's friend looks quite a bit like her. I actually couldn't tell them apart. By the way, I love 2-part stories, so the next chapter should be exciting.
Yeah, this chapter successfully got me really curious as to how this offline meetup will go. Satsuki has Chabudai built up in his head a certain way, and I'm wondering if it will be a totally different person than he expects. When the manga explains how character descriptions work in Dragon Quest X, I thought it was hilarious that the real-life manga artist of Rooming with a Gamer Gal inserted herself into the example. They break the fourth wall by asking, what would your character description be? If I was in Dragon Quest X, I would put, I'm Pendy, Slime Time podcaster and Dragon Quest enthusiast. Let's have a good time together. Now, what would you put, EastX?
To answer your question, I guess my description would read, I'm just like Pendy-chan, but sexier and less gooey.
I guess I'll go with that. Sure. This is the first time we've had a multi-part story. So how will the meeting go?
Yeah, and multi-part stories do allow for more complex narratives, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
So then we move on to Server 12, our first online meetup 2. Here's where we learn how it goes. We continue with Satsuki arriving at the meetup spot for the Heaven Slime members. He's apprehensive about meeting everyone in real life, especially Chabudai. Before we can see what happens, we jump to Satsuki already returning home in an inebriated state. He chats with Miyako about how the meetup went, and we flash back to it. At the meetup, everyone makes their introductions, and it turns out that Chabudai is really a 20-year-old male college student, not even close to what Satsuki imagined. Turns out that Chabudai refers to himself as the little sister to his sibling because he is female in the game. He's just role-playing based on his characters. Despite this, Satsuki tells Miyako that he had a good time at the meetup. Miyako teases Satsuki for possibly being disappointed that Chabudai was a boy after all, and in turn, Satsuki asks Miyako if she was disappointed that he was getting too close with Chabudai, hinting that she might have been jealous. Miyako confesses that maybe she had been a bit worried, and leaves to play Dragon Quest X, leaving a shocked Satsuki to ponder what just happened.
And here we see that Miyako may be hinting that she might be into Sasaki a little bit. What will Sasaki do with this information? Probably nothing much at first. I'm sure he has many missteps to go before anything serious happens. It's really fun that there's an older mom in the Heaven Slime meetup group who is playing the game with her children. That brings family game night to a whole other level. It's fun to see things like that. It's also funny that Satsuki once again gets catfished for a character in the game, though in both cases it wasn't on purpose. It was another fun chapter of misunderstandings. Finally, what is Miyako holding in her hand when Satsuki returns home at the beginning? A hairdryer, I guess? I couldn't really figure that out.
Yeah, the device is drawn strangely, but it does seem to be a hairdryer. I think you're right.
Okay.
Anyway, this is a great chapter. I enjoy the tension at the beginning as Satsuki prepares to enter the private room at the restaurant, and then we cut to him returning home to tell the story to Miyako. That's a fun, non-linear way to depict the event through Satsuki's memories. In the meetup, the artist mostly obscures the people's real faces with their in-game character faces. We do get to see the real faces of Chabudai and Chiku, though. Chabudai, turning out to be a guy, was fairly predictable, but the point is that it surprises Satsuki, so that's okay. I wonder if they'll keep being close in the game afterwards. Also, Anigasaki, or Ani-san, expresses that she won't be close to Powder anymore now that she sees how tall Satsuki is. She seems like a jerk. That's not the kind of thing you should say out loud. At least Clyde, her neighbor, chastises her for it. Incidentally, Clyde's description says that he loves completing and planning for live quests. Well, I'm sad to say it, but I couldn't find any information about live quests online. We'll have to assume that they are raids or something like that.
That's what I would guess too.
But dang, you'd think somebody would have written about it in English. The story wraps up with Miyako admitting to a tinge of jealousy over Satsuki and Chabudai. That is delicious, and I hope we see more hints of an attraction in the future.
You're here. So I think I've mentioned this store before, but I absolutely love Suruguya. It's a store that specializes in used anime and video game merchandise.
You sure Uga did mention it before. That store recently had a free shipping promotion, something that I'm told they often offer. It's a great place to get your fix when it comes to Dai merchandise, folks say. Did you get anything good this go around?
I did. I was able to snag a lot of great Dai pins and acrylic stands in varying sizes. I'm very excited to check them out once they get here.
Lucky. Did you get any other Dragon Quest related merchandise?
I was able to get the special edition Dragon Quest XI PS4 DS set that has special boxes signed by Yuji Horii, plus the Wii Dragon Quest 1 through 3 set that contains the original and the Super Famicom remakes of Dragon Quest 1 through 3. Both items usually go for way more on eBay, but Suruguya had them for reasonable prices. I was glad to finally pick them both up for my collection.
Those are some cool pickups indeed. I've always wanted that collection. Do you have any room to display them all?
Well, honestly, no, but I do need to pick up another one of those glass display cases from IKEA. That will solve my problems there. But more importantly, we have another Dai-related issue to discuss.
Oh yeah, the Blue Fox Scanlation team has been working to translate the Avon prequel manga series into English.
They were making steady progress with it as about a month ago, but now the project has stalled.
Yeah, the Blue Foxes are in dire need of translators, so if you are interested in helping out, please see the link for their page in the show notes.
There are currently 11 volumes of the manga released in Japan, and Blue Fox has made their way up to volume 6.
Please support the project, Japanese speakers. Onegaishimasu. If you want to prepare for our next episode, be sure to watch episodes 87 through 89 of Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai and read chapters 13 and 14 of Rooming with a Gamer Gal. You can watch the Dai episodes subtitled on Crunchyroll or dubbed on Hulu, and Rooming with a Gamer Gal is available through the Manga Up app.
We're a non-profit podcast. We won't gender swap your hard-earned gold when we can offer you quality content for free. But if you do have some extra gold that's just completely burning a hole in your wallet, pouch, bottomless bag, or treasure chest, and you would like to donate anything to a website that's been supporting Dragon Quest fans for over 25 years, stop by the Dragon's Den by clicking the link in the show notes. There are several ways to support the Den, including the affiliate links that don't cost you anything extra when making other Dragon Quest purchases.
We even have a Slime Time t-shirt that was designed by our resident artist, Dwayne. See the link for it in the show notes.
As part of the Slime Time Extended Universe, or STU, you can direct comments or questions for the podcast on X and Instagram at DQ Slime Time.
And you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/EastXTwitch. Come watch me play a variety of games every Saturday, kids.
Join in tons of Dragon Quest discussion at the Dragon's Den forums and Discord, and the Dragon Questers and Slime Time Facebook groups. And as a bonus, if you would like to see me and Paul go on and on about games from 1984, check out the latest side quest.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was great to have you on there.
Thanks, dude. We'd like to thank everyone that made this podcast possible, including you, Pendy, Woodus, the Dragon's Den, and those Blue Fox guys. They're doing important work, baby.
Please like, subscribe, and write a review for the podcast.
We'll catch you later, everybody. Don't hate, appreciate.
Time to zoom on out of here.
Hey, tell me where you're going when you go off alone. Oh, oh, oh. Sometimes all a friend can do is wait and watch for you to come back home. Hey, tell me where you're going when you go off alone. Oh, this was a story based on honesty and courage from the start. We're together, I thought we could make it work. On the horizon, something shining, and everyone can see it, and I'm feeling confident. It must be what we've been looking for. And now the sky's open up, the wind is picking up again, and I'm watching for a bird flying off. Sounds like the future's lighting up. Don't you know it's all connected life, a journey that is promised.
This is slime time! General Flazzard here! Beware my five-finger flares!